Hi, Debbie, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Wonder if you could just start by sharing a little bit about your children and your family.
I have two children, Jonathan, who is 7, and Maddie, who is 6, and my husband, John.
And do either you or your husband smoke, or any of the extended family?
No, my sister used to.
So how do you feel about smoking, with that in your family?
Well, I've always been the anti-smoker, the one who nagged my parents all the time. My sister obviously was not, she was a little bit different than I was because she started smoking in high school, and so she wasn't quite as vocal about, of course she hid it, but in opposition to my parents, although I realized that all it did was irritate my mother to go on and on about it.
But it's obviously something very important to you that your kids not grow up and smoke, and I imagine your husband is supportive of that.
Oh, yes, yes.
The danger for you is if your kids ever want to get even with you for something, smoking would be a good way to do it.
Yes, as they become older and more able to manipulate me, that's true. They would be able to. I guess, use that against me. But they're very. They only see it as a bad thing to do right now, and hopefully, as we talk about it as making, people who smoke are making bad choices, and we talk about bad choices fairly regularly. For different subjects,
Sure,
So they just see that as another situation where...
Have you talked about why smoking is a bad choice at this?
Oh, yes, we talk about how it hurts your body, the ways that it can hurt your body and your appearance and shorten a life.
And they seem to accept that.
Yes, they do. My son is a lot... he questions me a lot more in a lot more depth about it than my daughter. She sort of just accepts what I say at face value, and I think they're getting some of the same messages at school. So, they've heard it before, but my son has a lot more questions about it. But they just know that it's a bad thing and that it's dirty.
Yeah.
That's what I'll hear a lot.
Well, that's at that age, it's dirty, it's stinky, it's yucky.
Right.
Just having a negative value on it. You do have to be somewhat careful, because it doesn't mean that a person that smokes is, negative or dirty or something,
We've really tried to emphasize that when we talk to Jonathan about smoking, both together and separately, my husband and I, about not seeing a smoker as a bad person, which I think is Jonathan's first instinct. There's something wrong with him if he would do that. There's just something missing. But seeing it as making a bad choice, and it helps that, in a way, it's a good thing that my sister is a former smoker, because he knows that she's a good person, but that she's made some bad choices as far as that was concerned. And he has talked to her about it, and she's answered, questions for him. He has a hard time understanding the addiction part of it.
Right, yeah.
I try to say it's like how you drive by Krispy Kreme and you want that donut really badly.
What a great example. Yeah, that's terrific.
And that it was sort of like that, except worse. And, but it's still a tough concept, I think, for him to understand. And probably, I've never smoked, and I don't understand the addiction that comes with it either. Even that, I lived with my mom and saw that it, saw her try to quit.
Who do you think's more at risk, your daughter or son, smoking, or do you think?
If I had to say, I would probably say my daughter, because I've seen more tendencies in her to want to go along with the crowd, even at 6. Jonathan is much more a rule follower. If it's against the rules, you don't do it. She tends to slide more into the gray area a little bit.
Yeah. So with her, it'd be helpful to help her be around other kids that don't smoke. Then if she's going to follow the group, it'd be a healthy group to follow,
Right.
instead of a group that's getting into smoking and maybe other things that aren't good for them.
That's right. And, that's always been a hard question for me. How do I guide my children into making the friendships that I want them to have? And maybe steering clear from ones that might lead them down the wrong path.
Well, you have to be subtle about it. If you can't pick your kids' friends,
Right.
they'll resist that. But there are ways to put them in proximity of other kids that maybe are making healthy choices. Through what activities you encourage them to get involved in. Kids that are in sports tend not to smoke as much. So getting involved in sports, or if they're in chorus or an arts program, or other ways to get healthy activities and be with other kids that share those healthy values. They often make friendships with kids that they spend time with, doing things with.
Right.
Debbie, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing a lot of your thoughts and insights from both the perspective as a parent and as a teacher. I think that will help a lot of other parents.
Thank you, and I really appreciate the input that you've given me, and hopefully it will be able to help me respond in the way that I need to as a parent and keep my kids safe and making good choices.